next year. But this again triggers these celebrations and pressures of life to ensure that you celebrate just like any other person, triggers a lot of mental health and illnesses. And so today we take you through how to cope with the holiday blues and how to know that you have a mental problem, how to keep calm during this festive season and maintain your health mentally. Joining us for this conversation is Sheila Namulekwa. She's a counseling psychologist and also a trainer at Amani Counseling Center. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you too for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have this conversation because both of us might have had someone asking us, where are you celebrating the New Year or the Christmas? And probably deep down I'm struggling financially. Probably we are not okay like you are as far as family relationship is concerned. First, should we encourage these conversations because they trigger a lot of pressure on, I need to celebrate, and if you are a parent, then that becomes worse for you.
Oh, yes, it does. Of course, most of us will have been asked the same question that you and I might have been asked. Where are you going for Christmas? Where are you going for your holidays? Most of us will have mostly 2 weeks or maybe even a month. You have taken your annual leave to be able to be with the family for Christmas. So the question of where are you going is going to be very common. However, not everybody will be excited to find a response to that because of mental health issues. And that is a matter of concern. And it's maybe something that you can raise awareness on, that in as much as we're celebrating, some people might not be in that particular position, mental position, to be able to celebrate. They are actually ill, so they are not in a celebratory mode per se.
And they say that this time comes once a year. Of course, Christmas is once a year, New Year is once a year. So it's described as one of the most wonderful time of the season. And you've seen a lot of people buying even Christmas trees, matching outfits, and taking holidays, and there's a lot of pressure going on right now. But what are some of the trends, because this is one that I'm mentioning, but as a counselor, what are some of the trends that you feel that during a special festive season may trigger mental illness?
Okay. During this season, as you've rightly said, people are going to go for holidays, so they're going to spend more. People are going to spend more on their diets. They're going to eat something different. They're going to dress up, with a new clothes because Christmas is once a year. So they're going to buy things. So when you talk about this, you're talking about the financial implications of this particular season, which is a festive season. I also have other issues as a counselor that are also popping up during this season. There's also high intake of drugs and substance abuse. Because people are free, initially you can't take alcohol or consume any drug or ingest any drug and come to work. It's not normal. It's not okay. A few would maybe are in that particular position that they'll actually take drugs. They are very dependent on drugs and they still have the need to take it as they work. But for most people, they'll indulge in these kind of things during the holidays. So as a counselor, I also report very high numbers of persons who are struggling with drugs during this particular season for many reasons, because now they have the time. Sometimes maybe because they have other challenges in life that now they have to face them. Initially, they are maybe going to work or doing other businesses, so they can't really consume these drugs. But during the holidays, now they are they're not able to run away from the problems. They are at home, so they are indulging in more drugs than they have been. So there are very high numbers of drug and substance abuse issues coming up.
And there's also a norm of at the end of the year you want to take stock of whether your New Year's resolution, because we sit down before the fast and make resolutions, but now by the time the year is coming to a close, you want to take stock on whether you met some of these resolutions. It's another stress of life, because if you've not achieved what you had, sometimes you beat yourself a lot. Should we stop this trend, or how can we in a healthy way take stock of our resolutions and probably improve on them next year?
Ideally, the idea of taking stock is a good idea. It is a good idea, because a life that is not reflected is a wasted life. Okay, one of the sayings says that St. Augustine says, the person who lives a life without reflecting upon it is basically wasting their life. They're not utilizing the most in their life. So taking stock is good. However, I think over a period of years, we have been very harsh to ourselves. We really want to stick to what we set out to do. And sometimes we're not considerate of what actually happened along the year, along the season. For example, say you wanted to enroll for your PhD. And along the year, you lost somebody, and there are burial expenses. Along the year, maybe you got a child, and the child also comes with expenses. Along the year, maybe you supported somebody who was unwell, and medical bills might not be, you know, cheap. It's not pocket change. So you actually spent your resources in doing other things that came up and they were relevant, and sometimes or even an emergency. However, when you're taking stock and you still feel like you should have still done your PhD, it's a bit too much to ask of yourself. It's beating yourself up a bit too much. So maybe we need to learn how to be lenient on ourselves. We need to learn to rationalize, how come I didn't achieve this? Some issues or some goals you might have exceeded in your expectation, and it's okay to celebrate them, and it's okay also to take stock of how come I exceeded this expectation. So I think we need to learn to balance. We need to learn to balance even matters pertaining to ourselves, not just to others, but especially to ourselves during this festive season, when you're taking account of what you have done throughout the year.
Let's talk about some of these behaviors that feature a lot. You've talked about people engaging into drug abuse and drug use. So maybe we can continue with that conversation. What are some of the behaviors that feature a lot during festive seasons?
Well, there could be good and bad behaviors. Maybe right now we'll talk about what is alarming.
That affects the mental state as well.
Yes. The drug intake is a stressor to most families, because once one person now begins to actually gradually sink into this drug use, the rest of us are concerned. And especially now that maybe we're together at home, we have met as a family, we are away for holiday, and we realize that, you know, so-and-so is really taking this drug. It's not as a leisure or a seasonal thing. They seem to be really taking it. For example, you wake up in the morning, you're at a hotel, and one person in the family is ordering beer. They're ordering some drug, you know. So then it becomes a stressor to the rest of us. So you realize that even during this period, the rest of us get more stressed, because then you realize how another person is actually sinking into bad behavior. Another behavior will be violence. We have a lot of violence during this period as well. Violence to each other, maybe as adults. We also have violence towards those ones who are lesser than us, particularly the children. We have also some form of violence, maybe verbal violence to people who are elderly. Okay, so there's a lot of violence going on. It could be verbal abuse, it could be financial abuse as well, it could be physical abuse. There's a lot of GBV cases going on during this festive season.
And you know, you cannot deal with a problem if you do not understand what this problem is. So how do I know that I have a mental health issue or problem?
It begins by sometimes doing a self-assessment. Sometimes you can actually do a self-assessment. How am I? How do I feel when I'm with the people? How do I feel when I'm alone? What are some of the things I actually do very comfortable when I'm with others? What are some of the things I prefer to hide and do? And are they socially acceptable? Are they not acceptable? Sometimes which space am I more comfortable in? Do I prefer to be really isolated? Do I feel overwhelmed with people? And this needs to be in a balanced way, Then that maybe could be an indicator. Okay, and sometimes you can notice mental health issues by your own behaviors. For example, you know that you take drugs, or you know that maybe you sip some wine before you sleep. Like, you really can't sleep without taking something to help you sleep. So by your sleeping patterns or what helps you to sleep, that could also be an indicator. You could also realize, maybe start noticing that I might be having a challenge by your eating habits. How are you eating? For some people, when they're stressed, they eat a lot. So when you just realize that I seem to be hungry very often, that could be an indicator that I'm struggling with something. For some people, they actually lose appetite. They lose appetite, they're not interested in food. Even in this festive season, we are eating, and it's very common, okay? And general disinterest in things that you like, okay? At Amani, we receive a lot of persons like that, okay? So persons will walk to our center because they are not interested in life. Okay, and people think like you're not motivated enough, just come, and indeed they need help.
Yeah, and right now people, you know, this festive season, it's time that families come together and celebrate it together. But there are people who really are struggling. Do I join my family? Because we have heard of cases of toxic families. Just for the sake of this holiday, most of them will force themselves to just to go and join the rest of the family, but they may come back not well mentally. So what's your advice? Should they join them, and again, how can they protect their mental wellness while at it, or should they not join them at all?
The response could be both ways, depending on the person. If you're speaking about a person who's under 18, they are under the guardianship of their they are under a guardian, they are under their parents, so they might not have the privilege of saying, I don't want to go to the venue of the festivities. So for that person, they might need to learn how to cope. Like, I will go, but I might not be involved in this. This is how I will manage my time while I'm maybe with the family. For an adult, you can actually choose not to go. You can choose to keep your space.
It's okay not to go?
Yes, it is okay not to go. It is okay to respectfully say that I'm not able to go this time for many reasons. Mental reasons, you could say, you know, for your own well-being. And
we are winding up. In case of help, someone need help, and they have identified they have a problem. How can they get help? How can they reach you?
Well, they can come to us. Our offices are open at Amani Counseling Center. I think in all our offices, we have 5 branches around the country. We have left our offices particularly open because of that. At Amani, we're very sensitive to this because we see the numbers rising during these festivities. So you can go to our website, get our numbers, come to us. Our offices are literally open, so that you can walk in and you can journey with you.
Sheila Namulekwa, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate.
Thank you so much.
All right, and happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you and to all our viewers.
Oh, absolutely.